Paul Edwards. My name is Emily. Thank you. I know that applause was for him, not for me. And tonight we're going to feature an ensemble of sponsors, business and community leaders, and Paul Edwards himself to show and emphasize the power of a strong network and skilled networker. Before we proceed, I would like to ask that you put all cell phones and mobile devices on silent or vibrate. This event is being simulcast over Facebook and Instagram by our media sponsor, Media Marketing Solutions, so there will be plenty of footage and social media activity. If you'd like to be tagged in any of it, please visit Media Marketing's table afterwards and let them know. Photography is welcome and encouraged, but for your official photos with the author, please be encouraged to stick around afterwards with our generous photographer, Rebecca Sue Photography. I'd like to begin with a quick word, because I know we have a speaker who is very eager to come up here and share. Recognizing tonight's generous sponsors, please do hold your applause until after I finish the list, just for the sake of time. First, an event of this size and reach is not possible without a fantastic venue, so thank you to South Sound Manor for their generous support and facilities. The media buzz surrounding this event, as I mentioned before, comes from our friends at Media Marketing Solutions. The official photography for the event, together with your photos that you can take with Paul after the event, are courtesy of Rebecca Favre with Rebecca Sue Photography. Publicity and invitations, as well as event management, comes from our wonderful friends Alan and Louisa Shimamoto with InTeam. And then you will enjoy all the fantastic food, including Lacey Forza, Sergeant Hart's barbecue sauce, and Star Spangled sweets and treats as soon as we conclude here this evening, unless you have already. The program's official sponsors, some of whom you will have the opportunity to hear from tonight, are professionals and leaders from nearby and far away who have all enjoyed several years of mutually beneficial relationships with Paul, including Michael Stedman of Stedman Properties in Lacey, Brent Dilley with Dilley Law in Olympia, Alex Nelson with Impact Capital Management in Portland, Oregon, and Jeff Seaman of PC Technologies in Olympia. Would you please join me in recognizing all of our event sponsors? Now, in the interest of time, I'd like to welcome up someone who is somebody we all know, like, and trust here in the Olympia area. Representative Andrew Barkis grew up in Chehalis and graduated from Seattle University with a degree in communications. When an injury ended his military aspirations, Andrew landed a position managing properties and found his true career, which brought him to being the owner and very public face of Hometown Property Management. He is a lifelong volunteer and community leader through organizations such as Boy Scouts, Rotary, and the Lacey South Sound Chamber of Commerce. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chairman of Hometown Property Management and the state representative for the 2nd District of Washington State, Mr. Andrew Barkis.
Well, thank you so much. And it's truly an honor and a privilege to be here today, and I do appreciate the opportunity to lead things and kick things off. It's pretty cool. You know, when Paul asked me several months back, he said, you know, the book is just about done, it's going to be published, it's coming out, and I have this book launch. He says, would you be willing to maybe say a few words? I said, politicians say a few words? I said, absolutely. That's what we live for. So he said, keep it very, very few. And I do appreciate the time. And, thank you. Good night. I do appreciate, you know, in this season that I'm in, this campaign season, we run from event to event to event to event. And our life becomes, as I was telling Bill, 20-minute increments. And so this has been fun tonight to be able to hang out a little longer than I anticipated to see so many great people. And, you know, I think it's appropriate at this moment in time just to acknowledge our great host, Paul Edwards, and a big round of applause just to congratulate him on the success of this event. I mean, this is pretty cool. So Paul asked me just to kind of speak to the power of marketing just real quickly about, you know, how we met and what it means to me. And when I was thinking about this, he says, well, just talk about one thing maybe that comes up. What is the one thing that you can think about? And the word is relationship. It just keeps coming back and back and back. Because I can look in this room and I have a relationship with a lot of people in this room, right? Through business, friends, great restaurateur, you know, councilman, good friend. I mean, all these people that I've met through networking, through the power of relationships. And when Paul and I first met was at the Lacey Chamber of Commerce. And after many years of being on the board and being the past president, doing all those different things, I always could say that I could look out in the room and I knew that I did business with most of the people in that room because of the people who I met through the network and the relationship. And Paul became one of those people. So he came up to me very shortly after he arrived and, you know, introduced himself, and then came back again, introduced himself again, and then we started talking on more of a personal level, not about what he was selling, but more on a personal level. We got to know each other and became friends, and then he became my insurance agent, and he handled all my insurance, my corporate stuff, everything. I mean, I turned it over, I said, I want you to take it all, because I value the relationship. I value the fact that you're part of my team. So, and he speaks to that in his book. And this is a great read. I mean, this is a really great read that has some really great tangible things that you can grasp onto, especially if you're new to it. I mean, if you're just starting out new to marketing, this is a great guidebook. If you're an old guy that's been doing marketing and stuff for a long time, it's a great refresher, because it reminds you about a lot of different things that sometimes we take for granted when we're doing our 20-minute incremental movement through the day and through all the events that we do. So it's just great. You know, Paul, I knew was going to move on to bigger and better things and do stuff, and I'm sad he's no longer my insurance agent. So anyway, insurance guys out here in the audience, because I'm looking right now. Because even though he said that I could stay with his company, I don't have the relationship with the company. I had a relationship with Paul Evans. And that was really the key thing for me. So, you know, that's the important thing that we establish when we're doing the power of networking. And he, you know, he gets those 10 secrets in there, gets the different things he's doing. So, it's a thrill to be here tonight. I am excited about all the different things that are going on both in my life and in Paul's life. It's an honor to be owning a business, and a bigger thing is just doing the state representative gig. It's a lot of work being out there representing the people of the 2nd District in the state of Washington. But I will tell you, it's a natural fit, because a lot of the things that we do in business, a lot of things that we do in community, we do in politics and in state government too. Because it is about creating those relationships with all people, doesn't matter what party or anything else, creating the relationships, working on solutions to problems, and moving the ball forward. And that's really one of the key things that we do, whether it's in business or in government. So, Paul, I just want to say, wherever you went, he was standing back there a second ago, thank you for letting me be part of this event tonight. Thank you for letting me speak for a few minutes to some great people. And just congratulations on just a phenomenal success with this book. And keep doing what you're doing. I mean, keep doing what you're doing, Paul. Keep sharing the word, spreading the word. Keep out there networking. And you know, the next person that you're going to run into, you're going to inspire and create that relationship, and they're going to do the same thing. They're going to just continue to do that and pass that on. So thanks for letting me share a little bit tonight. And our fantastic MC. Big hand, a round of applause for her tonight. So,
all right. Thank you, Andrew, very much. It was a pleasure. We are going to resume back towards our sponsor segment for this evening. So to start us off, we have somebody who's going to come up and share about his long-standing relationship through networking with Paul. Here is one of our generous sponsors. Michael Stedman is a prior service United States Marine and parachutist, the CEO of Stedman Properties, which is a commercial leasing business locally owned and veteran operated in Thurston County. He is also a council member with the City of Lacey and a board member of the Lacey South Sound Chamber of Commerce. He is a proud husband of wife Shannon and father of 2 fantastic kids, Donovan 16 and Sierra 14. Please help me welcome the chairman of Stedman Properties and your Lacey City Council member, Mr. Michael Stedman.
Does this thing work? You guys can be just fine, right? Okay. Right. How you doing today? I want to start off saying it's an honor and privilege to get up here and say, give like a testimonial towards my great friend Paul. Running a business or marketing something, you have to really believe in it if you're going to sell it. And Paul, I really believe in what you're doing. I think most of these secrets, most people know grassroots of them. They really understand them, but they don't apply them, or they forget, how to work them. And I think that's where your secret comes out. Having said that, I believe in local. I'm heavily involved in the chamber, and what I want to really talk about here is core values in what you do, in trying to network. And I think Paul really brings those to the forefront. When it comes to, like, I was in the United States Marine Corps. When it comes to honor, commitment, and courage, I think Paul is very honorable when he's trying to. He doesn't have to get up here and write a book to help people improve how to run their business or be a better networker. He does it because he really believes in these relationships. Other than that, it's like, I know I'm struggling here, but I mean, it's about relationships. You're going to hear that a lot tonight, and I just want to, read the book. You'll get a lot out of it, and I really believe in you, Paul. I wish I could do a better job of doing you justice up here, but it's really about relationships and taking care of each other, and you're going to help a lot of people with this book, and that's it. So.
So now I don't know which mic to use. I don't like that. I'm gonna stick with this. I don't think it really matters. It's kind of nice to see you have a hard time with words, because it makes me feel way better. I have a script I'm having a hard time. Most of us talk for a living, yet you come up here with a mic and it's just like, words are really hard. So we were going to have Brent Dilley and Alex Nelson speaking tonight. They are unable to join us, so we are going to move forward to welcoming up Jeff Seaman, owner and founder of PC Technologies, to speak. So if you will all give a warm welcome to Mr. Jeff Seaman.
So earlier I was doing an interview in the Facebook Live room over here, which is cool, by the way. And they asked me where I met Paul. And I couldn't remember. I said, hasn't he just always been there? He did. He just kind of showed up in your life, and you don't know why, but you like him there, right? So this is a good event for Paul. His ego is expanding by the second. All right, I'll be nice now. So thinking back, I'm trying to remember my first opinions or my first take on Paul, and I remember barely, and this could be an age thing. I just had a birthday and I forget more stuff as I get older. But I remember Paul took a few minutes in a networking event, and I can't even tell you which one it was. He took a few minutes, asked me about who I was, about my family, and about my business. And he says to me, he goes, I have a guy you should talk to. And he asked me if he could meet me later to talk about this person. This person had either a resource or a similar hobby, or I can't remember what it is, but I remember it was a very smooth transition, and it's a very good reason for me to meet with Paul later on. I don't know if we met at a coffee shop, I don't really care. But I knew at that time Paul's going to be my friend. And I have a history of calling out my friends, like, you're going to be my friend whether you want to or not. I'm a little bit weird like that, but it usually works out pretty well. So Paul is actually, we've had some pretty good conversations, and especially about networking and about family. And it was interesting. I was expressing a situation where I was getting real frustrated, and I felt like I had to do a lot of yelling at my boys, my kids. I've got 4 boys, all under the age of 10, and I just, you get those days where it's like I feel like I spend more time yelling and getting no results. And Paul's like, I got a book for you, And I can't remember the title of it, but it was a great book, and it really, kind of explained that father-son relationship that allowed me to, kind of take a outside view of my situation, and allowed me to okay, I get this now, or at least get it better. And those relationships would all improve. And that, again, just, it's like, I don't know, if Google could be in a human being, yeah, that's pretty much Paul when it comes to resources for people. You could probably bounce an idea off him. He's like, I've got 3 people you need to talk to about this. And that's fantastic. Having those resources and relationships, there's the relationship word right there. So yeah, I really, not much else to say. I mean, everyone's really, if you know Paul, I always kid, every time I'm with him, have you met Paul? Because, he's a great person to know. But anyone who's ever worked with him or done a project with him, it's all been fantastic. Oh, I thought I was getting played off. It's like the Emmys or whatever. You got to get off the stage now. So I have to admit, I've only got like 4 chapters deep into Paul's book, and it's not because it's hard reading. It just, we're busy, we got families and lives. But I am looking at each one of those, and I'm actually analyzing each step along the way. And I was kidding earlier on the live feed. I said it should be 10 obvious things for networkers that they never do, right? Or do by accident. And it really is. I mean, these aren't the secret. It's not really a secret. The secret is putting them all together and then committing yourself to those and being genuine and real. People know when you're fake. If you go to a networking event and you're like, hey, I do this and I do this fantastically and I'm the best person that you would ever meet to do this, you need to do this, and then just hope that they'll be like, wow, I want to give you all my money. Because that's not how it works, right? And we've all tried it. It doesn't work that way. So Paul's got a good system going, and I think we'd all be better if we listened to his advice. Thank you.
All right. We're going to go ahead and go back to our guest speakers now. For our next speaker, and if anyone symbolizes being quote-unquote an emblem, as Paul writes in his book, it is this man. Born and raised in Lacey and growing up as the grandson of Dave Wilson, better known around here as Dirty Dave of Dirty Dave's Pizza Parlor, Rick Nelson was primed for the restaurant industry. He founded the award-winning Ricardo's Kitchen and Bar in Lacey in 2003, which recently expanded and opened up the development of the Hub Commercial District, now on the rise. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming to the stage a living symbol of Lacey, the owner of Ricardo's Kitchen and Bar, Mr. Rick Nelson.
Well, thank you very much for that. I really just needed an excuse to wear this jacket out somewhere, so when he asked me to do this event, I said, heck yeah, I'll do that for you. I actually met Paul, 4 or 5 years ago through my wife at a network marketing event. And he slowly but surely took over all of our insurance needs, personal, business, and it's been a lot of fun doing that kind of work with him. And then we stepped up a notch. I think we hit a couple Husky games, hang out there at a barbecue in the backyard or something like that, and just have fun. And network marketing plays a good role in my life with the restaurant industry, where you're constantly networking with all of your customers, because everyone's got different needs, different things they want to bring to the table to support you. And I'm really excited right now in the next chapter of my life with building a house. I'm going to use every bit of network marketing I possibly can with people that do flooring and electricians and plumbers. And this book will be a great read. I have to admit, I have not read it because he just handed me a copy finally about a half hour ago with a couple cool quotes in there. I judge a person's character by how my kid judges them. And my son thinks Paul's a pretty cool guy. He thinks he's real funny with his Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonations that he does pretty well. Hopefully we get maybe one of those tonight. And yeah, thank you very much. That's about all I got.
All right, thank you very much, Rick. For our next speaker, we have a special testimonial tonight from Bill McGregor. Please join me in welcoming our very own, it's because I don't have more of a bio for him, Port of Olympia Commissioner, Mr. Bill McGregor.
Well, I wasn't quite sure how I should accept that, whether it was she didn't have a bio, or she was looking for a biohazard, or biomedication, or biodiesel, but anyway. I've been a port commissioner now for 12 years. I've been in the port industry for 35 years in addition to that. And so during my career, I've done a lot of marketing. And one of the things in the international market when you're doing things, it's all about networking and it's all about building relationships. If you build, and the relationship is built around trust, it's built around information that you talk about, not at the business level in the international market, but more down into the bowels of people and what they do. And when you can relate to them and do that, you begin to get business. And it takes about 2 years for that to all happen on the international marketplace. And I attend a lot of chamber functions. I attend a lot of Rotarian functions, as I am a Rotarian, and I'm involved somewhat with our church. And it's all about networking. It's all about learning about people, not so much what they do for a business, but what interests them, what captures them. And I think the book talks about that in great detail. I've read 87 of the 94 pages, I think, that are in the book. I found it refreshing. It's brought back some things that I need to work on myself. It's an easy read. I took it with me this weekend and read 2 chapters a day, and by today now I'm down to, I think it's chapter 11 is the last chapter, but it's got some interesting things, you know, like interesting bylines like smoke 'em if you got 'em. You know, he talks about his Texas Hold'em and all that, and I have yet to make it there, but I'm usually the purse. So if I put my 20 bucks in, I'm probably going to be sitting around the rest of the night watching everybody else smoke cigars and take my money. So, but one of the things I did highlight in here, and I've highlighted several things, but one, it says another huge component of confidence, and it is about confidence, goes back to the rule of not saying too much. So I'm not going to say too much because it is better to be a fool and be silent than to open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bill. So our last speaker, unfortunately, is not here as well. So I will take this moment, since I wasn't in the script, to tell you all how I met Paul. At the time, we were both involved with Miss Thurston County, and I was walking into a meeting, and there he was in his Broncos sweatshirt. And I may have said something to the extent of, Broncos, didn't they lose? I'm pretty sure that was the same year they went on to win the Super Bowl. So our friendship has been humbling me from the very beginning. He has been a phenomenal mentor, helping plug me into different networking venues and tools, connecting me and keeping me connected with people like Alan and Louisa Shimamoto, Mike Stedman. So it has been a wonderful journey having him as a mentor. So it's time to talk business and more networking. Paul Edwards has been a top seller in the business for 7 years, cultivating a successful insurance practice through his revolutionary networking and digital marketing system, adding tremendous value to key clients, allies, and referral partners. Based in Washington State's capital of Olympia, Edwards is an author, speaker, and bodybuilder focused on helping his clients crush their sales goals through increasing return on networking with every interaction they have in their personal life and in their professional life. Edwards is a graduate of Pacific Lutheran University and served in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Please help me welcome tonight's keynote speaker and the author of 10 Secrets to Networking Success, and my personal friend and mentor, Paul Edwards.
All right.
He was taking a very long keynote to walk from the bar back.
Check. You know how much I love the mic. So, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Now we should have a presentation coming up here, but first I want to start by saying thanks everybody for coming out. Thank you for all your support. Thank you to all of our sponsors and guest speakers, everybody who took time and set aside a few extra dollars to come and support me in this. What is happening here is, it is a book, but it's also a culture and a movement, and has been for several years. This is just sort of crowning it as an official one, and giving it legitimacy in the form of a book. And that being the case, I would never take an opportunity like this to not add value to each and every one of you sitting in this room in some way, shape, or form. So, in keeping with my custom, for any sort of speaking engagement I do, I have, whenever it comes up on the screen, I have a few little tidbits of information that I got from my recent trip to Toronto, Canada, for my 7-figure mastermind with Vince Del Monte, who's my mentor. And in the absence of the PowerPoint, I'm just going to go ahead and get straight into it. Oh, it's not absent anymore. How to launch an enterprise. Because that's what I'm doing. Many of you are familiar with that. Many of you know that it's not something that you can just do. It takes time, it takes support, it takes effort, and it takes a network. But from what I learned in Toronto, it also takes a heavy degree of coaching and outside influence from people who are further along in it than you are. And that was one of the things that was lacking in my life and in my business, and that's why I invested in it. So if we could have the next slide. The first, what you're going to learn here is how to launch an information/expert business on a shoestring, because that's what I've done. My top 7 takeaways from the mastermind in Toronto, I'm going to share those with you. I'm going to show you how I multiplied income by becoming prolific with my products. And I'm going to share a little bit about why you can't do this by yourself. So if we could have the next slide, please. How did I get here? Insurance job burnout. Some of you were privy to this. I love the insurance industry. It taught me a lot. I love being the insurance agent to many of the stars in the room here. It taught me so much about personal relationships and networking. But things began to change in a way that was only partially within my control. And I found that over a period of time, I was realizing that I wasn't meant to do this long term. Now, of course, I'm loyal to my clients and all of my referral partners, so I wasn't thinking of getting out of it until my employer decided to get me out of it for me. So that happened in June. Some of you might remember I even did a Facebook video saying, hey, I got fired. What do I do now, right? Then it was the call of the wild Shimamoto. Where is he at? There he is. Yeah. Go Broncos. I like that last weekend, by the way. I know that's not a good idea in front of this audience. Not good with it. But here's what Alan did. One day we were in a networking group, and I was talking, and my whole thing was always trying to change the standard, predictable, stale, boring networking group routine into something that benefited everybody in the room. And he raised his hand, he interrupted me at one point, and he said, why don't you do a presentation on networking and share with people how you do what you do? And I had never done anything like that. But I already knew I possessed the skill set to do it. I knew I could get up in front of a bunch of people and speak. I knew I could create a valuable PowerPoint presentation with not too much information to cause death by PowerPoint. And I knew that when I delivered that, some people would glean onto that and start to use it, and they did. So the questions kept coming, and I got fired. The questions were, how much longer is this going to go on? How much longer do I have in the insurance industry? I didn't know. I stuck with it as long as I could. But eventually the death knell came for that, and that's what's brought me here. Next slide, please. Now I want you to pay attention if you're thinking about doing this, if you've ever thought about doing it, if you're transitioning into something new, pay attention to the timing, the leading, and the context. So most of you know, I don't just do things randomly anymore, despite what my wife might tell you. I pay a little bit more attention than I used to, and I especially pay attention to the context in which this arose, the timing in my life. I was reaching a point where something like this had to happen. Okay? As you've gathered by now, we've got a book on it. We've had several people get up and tell you this. Networking is key. I could not have done any of what I've done without so many people in this room and so many people who are not in this room. And the only way that this has happened, starting up from where I'm starting up from, is having all of these great people behind me. I mean, it's never a mystery to me, where am I going to go to get this done? Who am I going to turn to get something to make something happen? They're sitting right in front of me. I know exactly where to go, right? Free coaching and paid coaching. There's no shortage of it. I started using the free stuff I found on the internet. That led to paid stuff. I now belong to 3 business masterminds. I invest in myself all the time, and I intend to continue doing so for as long as God gives me the means. Barter, exchange value, or simply ask. So many of the hurdles that I thought stood in my way, thousands of dollars on editing and publishing a book, got shrunk to 0 because of resources I had through networking. Sarah Younger, who's my protege, who's not here, unfortunately, with Saturn Barter, was instrumental in that, making connections for me with people who could do that work for a fraction of what I paid for it. And of course, nothing like this happens without applied, consistent effort. So if you're thinking you do it in a couple days and then it's done, think again. Next slide, please. Here's my top 7 mastermind takeaways. Think empire thoughts. What do I mean by that? When I went to Toronto, I was thinking of launching a membership site. That was going to be a really cool idea. People were going to pay me money every month to be a member of my site that had no followers and no audience, to hear a bunch of information they could get for free elsewhere online. Bad idea. Glad I didn't do it. But in the process of eliminating that idea, here's what I learned. I know a couple of mentors who do have membership sites, and they have membership newsletters. And they were struggling with the issue of, how do I get 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 subscribers to my newsletter, for which I charge nearly $50 a month. And the empire thought that came to that was, don't do that. Give the newsletter away for 99 bucks a year. And build up your list that way. Build up your subscriber base to 50,000 at a cheap rate. And then turn around and sell advertising, because now you have the audience the right size to charge advertising in your publication. Empire thinking, instead of just how do I get 10 more people, 20 more people, however many more people to sign up for a newsletter. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I never know how well I explain these things. Book first, ask questions later. So the first Paul Edwards Mastermind group is currently underway, being booked. Next year, 2019, we're going to have a mastermind group, a 2-day workshop in Seattle. You're all invited. I hope you can make it. But book first. Because if you don't put that on the calendar, if you don't make a commitment that you're going to do that, if you don't hard and fast nail yourself to something and say, I'm doing this come hell or high water, that's what Daryl and Alan had to tell me to do with this launch. They said, just put it on the calendar. You know, I kept saying, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I had full intention of doing it. They said, put it on the calendar. And now here we are, right? That's why it happened. Sales funnel first, then ads. If you're doing anything online, this is especially applicable, but it's also applicable in real life. Don't start advertising if you don't know how much you earn per customer, because you're going to be confused. You're going to be just spending money randomly on advertising. This was a big takeaway for me. I was like, how do I know how much to spend on Facebook advertising? They said, how much money have you got? I said, I don't have any. They said, well, then don't do it. I was like, that helps, right? But here's the thing. They said, before you spend a dollar on doing some serious Facebook advertising, you should know how much money you make off of each customer who signs up for your product. You should have an average cart value, right? Oh, now you know how much you can spend to acquire another one. Oh, well, that helps. Took the pressure off of me thinking I was going to have to spend hundreds of dollars a month on Facebook and Instagram ads, and gave me a totally different focus on the correct strategy to build an organic following right now, which is all I can afford to do. Okay? Did I explain that well?
Yeah.
Anybody confused?
You did great.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Chase is confused.
Effective book writing. Anybody in here not written a book but thinking about writing a book? Besides the lawyer in the front. Okay. Here's a great one I heard. Maybe you've heard this before. If you're thinking about writing a book, who's ever sat down and tried to write something? What's the first thing that happens? Nothing. Writer's block. Drives me crazy. But who has speaker's block? Danny Stusser. Yeah, I know. Everybody else does. Everybody else, you can get a podcast recording kit and free software now. I started my podcast for $100. Okay. what I discovered in that is I can also start writing my books by speaking them first, and then send them off to a transcriber. They have services online that will transcribe an entire audio file. So you speak that book first, because we speak easier than we write. We're self-conscious about how we write. It has to look proper. It has to have good grammar. It has to, some of us, has to have good diction, right? Has to have correct syntax and all that. But if you get up there and just speak it and then have somebody transcribe it, you can edit it later. You can have an editor come along and do all that work. But get that creativity out of here and into an audio file, and eventually on paper. It's a great idea. It's going to save me a ton of time with my next book. Next slide, please. A brand is a promise repeated over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Who knows that? Yeah. Everybody remember my old brand? The business owner's personal agent? I wish I'd understood how to market that better, because it was absolutely true. And most of you who got to know me knew that. But I could have made so much more out of it. But I will say that in the process of being in the insurance business, I made sure to repeat that over and over and over. And everybody who did business with me got a taste of what it was like to have the business owner's personal agent as your insurance agent. So repeat that promise over and over and over again. However you define, excuse me, your service, however you define what you do, make sure that your audience knows again and again and again what that brand promise is. There are no metrics on the most important things in the world. And anybody, by a show of hands, who here has received a handwritten note from me at some point that you can remember? Come on, there's more hands than there better be. Yeah. The most important metrics in the world cannot be measured. We can measure Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and that's useful. I'm not discounting it at all. I plan to use it. But the things that leave the greatest impressions and that have generated some of the greatest referrals and greatest connections I've ever had have been when I've sat down and scribbled out a handwritten note. So don't discount that. Don't abandon it. Don't abandon, and you don't have to just use a handwritten note these days. You can communicate, instead of sending an email, you can send a video message. That's another personal touch. I got tons of feedback on my book when I mailed it out, hand signed. People are like, wow, I got a signed book, And I'm like, yeah, I'm not exactly a New York Times bestseller. But thank you for the compliment. And then just understanding why people actually buy from you. This was actually a learning curve for me, particularly when it comes to sales. When it comes to networking, I've always been interested, I was telling some people beforehand, I've always been interested in networking in the depths, right? In talking about friendships and relationships and family and interests and hobbies and the struggles of being a business owner. Understanding the psychology of the buyer. I just never translated that over into sales when I did it, which is unfortunate. But going forward, I always will. That's what I plan to do. And if you're starting an enterprise or you're neck deep in one, you will stand out from your competitors if you deal at a psychological gut level with people instead of just staying in the shallows. Next slide, please. How to multiply your income by being prolific with your products. The first question I'd ask you is, if you don't have enough products, who's reviewing your products? Who's that extra set of outside experienced eyes looking at what you do and saying, there's a completely different application for this? Mike, you remember how we talked about that? Yeah. If you haven't had your coaching session, by the way, you should have one with me. I tend to see things that you don't see, because you're stuck in the goldfish bowl, but I'm not. It's the same thing as if I sat down and coached with you about whatever it is you do. You're going to see things that I don't. So let's do that. Identify your customer's pain. This goes back to the psychological thing. There's only two things that pierce the human soul: beauty and affliction. That's not my quote, but I read it somewhere. It's pretty good. Affliction pierces us. Affliction, discomfort, pain, frustration, anger, hostility, all these things that grew up inside us as business owners and entrepreneurs. We need to, as the salesperson dealing with that, we need to expose the pain. We need to say, where's the frustration? Where's the issue? We need to be more like a doctor saying, where does it hurt? How long has this been going on? What other treatments have you sought so far? Right? Then we explore the goals. right? We go back to the goals. Okay, well, if you were to wave a magic wand and get out of this situation, where would you end up? What's the ideal end state here? Because when you go about it that way, you're not dealing with the negative. You have to be willing to deal with the dark side of what's going on, as well as the light side. It used to be a big mistake for me. I would just stick on the goals and the shallow stuff and try to eliminate the amount of time we have to spend on it. But in the long term, it's not effective. And also have a suite of products for every wallet, right? So I have this. You bought my book. That's what I call a tripwire product, okay? My mastermind next year is kind of a mid-level product. And my eventual high-end coaching, 12-month coaching program, that has fewer and fewer buyers, right? Have something for every wallet. Have something that most consumers can access, have something that fewer consumers can access, and then something that even fewer consumers can access. One of the things they kept telling us, this is not in my presentation, but one of the things they kept telling me in one of the coaching programs I'm in is, in this day and age, we don't want to do business with absolutely everybody anymore, because we always invite the problems that go along with having absolutely everybody on your customer list. So ultimately, you want to be a little bit selective. You want to be a little bit less, not accommodating, not refusing to do business with people, like saying you're not allowed in here, but maybe not as aggressive in going after everybody. More targeted, more granular, more defined, right? Or based on whatever it is you're searching for, the demographic, the psychographic. Pay attention to those things. Next slide. And why you can't do this by yourself, this is my favorite part. We each have how many brains? One. How many brains does the marketplace have? The rest, yeah. Now, there are people who operate just fine with one brain. I'm not one of them. I operate very poorly by myself. Anybody who lives with me can tell you that. Yeah, thank you for raising your hand. But with 2 brains, that changes everything. 5 brains, now we're talking. 10 brains, we got some serious resources. 60 brains, like the mastermind I went to in Toronto, you can hardly go wrong. You got a resource for everything. You got an idea for everything. You got a redefinition of everything. You got an intelligent question that nobody else, that you would never even think to ask yourself, right? The marketplace cares about your seeds, not your needs. Nobody get any funny ideas with this. But we're talking about what you bring to the marketplace, not what you need to get from it. The marketplace doesn't give a rip about what you think you need, right? If you're willing to pay for it, they're happy to cater to it. But that's not their primary concern. Their primary concern is, what can you do for me? How can we exchange value here? Willpower is useless against your environment. I don't trust myself with my daily routine now. I integrate it. I don't give myself a chance to check out and noodle around on social media. Put that damn thing on airplane mode and turn it face down and get your work done. Don't trust your willpower. Your willpower is not stronger than your environment. It's very easy to get distracted, especially with what I do. I'm creating information products, I'm writing, I'm shooting videos, I'm making Instagram stories. And my phone is involved in all of that. And it's real easy to get distracted. It's real easy to just, next thing you know, I've blown 20 minutes of an hour that I had dedicated to this task. Oh look, there's a panda on Instagram. And then money follows attention and loves speed. So if you have a coach, a mentor, coaching program, an extra set of eyes, they're going to get you to your target faster than your competitors. And that's where the money is. You get to the finish line first when you have somebody telling you, by the way, this is how you do it. While your competitors are out there, I wonder how you do this. I guess I'll try and figure it out on my own. Why do it that way? Why not have somebody who knows what they're doing, has already done it, tell you the shortcut, Early bird gets the worm principle. Next slide. Okay, some of you have seen this before. How many people in this room are excited? Don't make me stand here and say it's just me.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. Come on, I'm an extrovert. I need a reaction. You introvert emerald types, you just sit there, oh, that's very exciting. I'm not like that. I need to see smiles and shouts and hollers. Anybody overwhelmed by this? I tried to cut down on my long-winded explanations. I know I have a tendency to repeat myself. I'm just curious. This is not, make me feel secure about myself, but did I do a good job of explaining that? Did everybody kind of understand what I was talking about? Yes. Well, next slide. And you got to hit the arrow on this. There we go. This is my brand new funnel launch package. You are the very first people to get the opportunity to take advantage of this. It will be available online within the week, I hope. But we have several things that you can take advantage of to up your networking game and to start turning the people around you that you run into every day, that you have a connection with, into your own unpaid sales force. A bunch of people, you don't pay them a dime. They do it because they love you, they like you, they trust you, you add value to their lives, and they ping it right back around to you. And this is what we've got. We've got, first, the 30-day networking challenge. I'm really proud of this. It took me a while to figure out how to do this. But it's basically a systematic 30-day, so we're talking about, what, 6 5-day weeks, right? 6 business weeks, leaving out the weekend, with a systematic follow-up process that is not salesy, that is not awkward. Even introverts can do this. You don't have to be charismatic and outgoing and particularly charming, like I am. You can be sort of shy and retiring and still do this. It only takes 30 days. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and work out 30 to 60 either brand new or pre-existing connections that were not that warm, and we're going to warm them up. And we're going to turn them into potential referral partners and allies for you. Okay? That's part 1. Part 2, the 11 secret special report. Who wants to connect with influencers, high performers, civic leaders, high-ranking politicians? Maybe? No? Nobody? Yeah. Gotta get the 11 secret. 5 great ideas, 5 great techniques that I used to effortlessly worm my way into connections with people who are here in the Olympia area and outside the Olympia area are very well known. How to Work the Net Masterclass. I just got back the book on this. This is a deep dive into the book. This is all kinds of ideas and steps that you can follow to take that book and make it a reality in your life and in your business. You still get the worksheet we've been having with the book that you got. I realize most of you in here already have that. And then MMS is going to get me footage, a DVD that you get if you take advantage of this offer that has footage from the event covering what we covered here, so you can review it, enjoy it, see yourself on camera, talking with me, etc., etc. It's all included. Next slide, please. And an arrow key. Who's this for? Just like Andrew Marcus said, it doesn't matter if you're brand new to networking, you're a new marketer, new professional, or you're seasoned and experienced, and you need a refresher course. This is for everybody. Everybody has something they can get from this. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. Get the arrow. You get all this. Ordinarily, that's over $300 of value. And the next slide. With the arrow. I'm giving it away for 97 bucks. Tonight only. There's a sign-up sheet in the back. You just put your name and email, and I'll get in contact with you. And I believe that's it. I appreciate all of you coming out tonight. There's pulled pork from Sergeant Hart's barbecue sauce, ready and waiting for your hungry stomachs. I appreciate your patience with the dinner. It came out a little bit later than we wanted it to, but boy, is it delicious. You put that on top of your head, your tongue will beat your brains out trying to get to the top. With a big thank you to all of our sponsors, guest speakers, and all of you who turned out tonight. Thank you for coming to the launch of 10 Secrets to Networking Success. My name is Paul Edwards. Have a great night.